The cost of living is skyrocketing, wages stagnant. Every trip to the supermarket feels like a punch to the gut as prices climb higher and higher. People are finding it harder to stretch their paychecks to cover even the most basic necessities. It's a tale of two economies, both in the UK and the US. Despite being separated by an ocean, the struggles are eerily similar. Both nations are grappling with economic challenges that seem insurmountable, the haves and the have-nots. The gap between the wealthy and the poor is widening at an alarming rate. While some enjoy the luxuries of life, others are left to fend for themselves with barely enough to get by. Guess which group is growing faster? Food banks are seeing unprecedented demand and unemployment lines are longer than ever. The middle class is shrinking and more people are slipping into poverty. In the UK, inflation is outpacing wage growth at an alarming rate. The cost of everyday items is rising faster than people's incomes, making it nearly impossible to keep up. People are working harder but falling further behind. Many are taking on multiple jobs just to make ends meet, sacrificing their health and well-being in the process. The average weekly wage might sound okay on paper, but try paying rent, bills, and putting food on the table. Families are cutting back on essentials, opting for simpler meals and foregoing any semblance of luxury. It's a bleak reality for millions. The stress and anxiety of financial insecurity are taking a toll on mental health, leaving many feeling hopeless and trapped. Across the pond, the situation is equally dire. The American dream of owning a home and living comfortably is slipping away for many. Americans are facing the highest inflation in decades. The cost of gas, groceries, and other essentials is soaring, putting a strain on household budgets. Essentials like groceries and gas have become luxury items for many. People are forced to make tough choices, often going without to make ends meet. The American dream, more like the American daymare, the promise of prosperity and success is fading, replaced by a harsh reality of financial struggle and uncertainty. Meet Sarah, a single mother working as a teaching assistant in Manchester. Every day she wakes up before dawn, prepares breakfast for her children, and heads to work. Her dedication to her job and her family is unwavering. She works tirelessly to provide for her two children, juggling her responsibilities at school and home. Despite her hard work, the exhaustion is evident on her face. But after paying rent and bills, there's barely enough left for groceries. The constant worry of making ends meet weighs heavily on her mind. Cheap, processed food has become a staple in their diet. It's not what she wants for her children, but it's all she can afford. Fresh fruit and vegetables, a rare treat. The high prices at the store make it difficult to provide nutritious meals. In Chicago, Michael, a hard-working Uber driver, faces a similar struggle. He starts his day early, navigating the busy streets, picking up passengers, and trying to make a decent living. The rising cost of gas is eating away at his earnings. Each trip to the gas station is a reminder of how hard it is to get ahead. He's working longer hours, often late into the night, but it's never enough. The fatigue is taking a toll on his health and well-being. He dreams of a better life for his family, a dream that seems increasingly out of reach. The hope that once fueled his long hours is slowly fading, replaced by a sense of despair. Both Sarah and Michael find some relief at the local food bank, where they receive donations that help them get by. It's a humbling experience, but one that provides a glimmer of hope. Despite the challenges, moments of joy and togetherness keep them going. Sarah and Michael cherish the time spent with their families, finding strength in their love and resilience. They are not alone in their struggle. Across the country, many are rallying for better wages and affordable living. The fight for a better future continues, driven by the hope for change. As the sun rises each day, so does their determination. Sarah and Michael, like many others, hold on to the belief that better days are ahead. The housing market is another beast altogether. Rent prices in London are astronomical, forcing many into cramped, shared accommodations. Owning a home, a distant fantasy for most young people. Across the Atlantic, the situation is mirrored. In cities like San Francisco and New York, finding affordable housing feels like winning the lottery. Many are forced to move further away from job centers, adding to their commute time and expenses. Here's the kicker, it's a vicious cycle. People are forced to take on multiple jobs, leaving them exhausted and with little time for family or personal development. This in turn limits their earning potential, trapping them in a cycle of debt and struggle. The mental toll is immense. Stress, anxiety, and depression are on the rise. The system is failing its people. Section 5. When healthcare is a luxury. Let's not forget healthcare. In the United States, millions are without health insurance. One medical emergency can push families into financial ruin. Even those with insurance face sky-high deductibles and co-pays. Getting sick shouldn't be a luxury. The UK's National Health Service, or NHS, is under immense strain. Years of underfunding have led to long wait times and staff shortages. Access to quality healthcare is becoming increasingly difficult. Section 6. The crushing weight of debt. Many are turning to credit cards and loans to make ends meet, but this is a dangerous game. Interest rates are rising, trapping people in a cycle of debt that seems impossible to escape. Student loan debt is another major issue. Young people are starting their adult lives saddled with enormous debt, delaying major life milestones like buying a home or starting a family. Section 7. A generation left behind. Millennials and Gen Z are bearing the brunt of this crisis. They are the most educated generation, yet they are struggling to afford basic necessities. The promise of a better future feels like a cruel joke. This is not just an economic crisis, it's a social crisis. It's about time we start treating it as such. Section 8. The rich get richer. Meanwhile, at the top, the rich are getting richer. The gap between the wealthy and everyone else is widening at an alarming rate. Trickle-down economics has proven to be a fallacy. It's time for a system that works for everyone, not just the privileged few. The pandemic exposed the fragility of our systems. It's time to rebuild, but this time let's build a fairer, more equitable society. Section 9, a future on the brink. If we continue on this path, the consequences will be dire. Increased poverty, homelessness, and social unrest are all on the horizon. The fabric of our societies is at risk. We are at a crossroads. We can choose to ignore the warning signs and hurtle towards disaster, or we can choose to act, to demand better for ourselves and future generations. Section 10. Ignoring the warning signs. The warning signs are all around us. People are struggling to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads, and access basic health care. Yet, those in power seem content to tinker around the edges, offering temporary solutions to systemic problems. This is not about handouts, it's about creating a system that provides opportunity for all. A system where hard work is rewarded and everyone has a chance to thrive. But let's delve deeper into these warning signs. In supermarkets, we see individuals meticulously counting their pennies, making tough choices between essential items. Families are increasingly relying on food banks, a lifeline that was once a last resort, but is now a regular necessity for many. The sight of an empty fridge is becoming all too common, a stark reminder of the growing economic divide. Housing insecurity is another glaring issue. More and more people are finding it difficult to afford rent or mortgage payments. Homelessness is on the rise, with shelters overflowing and many forced to sleep in their cars or on the streets. This isn't just an urban problem. It's affecting suburban and rural areas as well. Healthcare, a basic human right, remains out of reach for too many. People are skipping necessary medical appointments, unable to afford prescriptions, and living in fear of a medical emergency that could bankrupt them. The response from those in power has been woefully inadequate. Instead of addressing the root causes, they offer band-aid solutions that do little to alleviate the suffering. We need comprehensive reforms that tackle these issues head-on. It's about building a society where everyone has the opportunity to succeed, where hard work is genuinely rewarded, and where no one is left behind. Ignoring these warning signs is not an option, it's a call to action. Section 11. A call to action. We need real change, and we need it now. This requires bold action from our leaders. Policies that tackle income inequality, provide affordable housing, and make education and healthcare accessible to all. The time for complacency is over. We must demand better. We deserve better. The future depends on it.